feel like we say it every week, right? I mean, you want to say it together on 3? 1, 2, 3. Will Trevor Lawrence do dumb shit?
Trevor Lawrence is going to screw something up.
Right, exactly.
Close enough.
We were right in sync there, just like our clothing.
We had the same message, not the same words. That was last week's Joint Mega Picks podcast, Volume 2. We did 2 of them last week, one for the Thanksgiving Day games and for the Black Friday game, and then another one. And all in all, it felt like a bad week.
Well, Thanksgiving was tough.
Week.
Thanksgiving was tough, right? You know, that's where we got off to a bad start. I think that probably gave us a bad thought, right? Right away, at least.
Well, in the 4 games played on Thursday and Friday, I was 1-3 straight up and 3-1 against the spread. Go figure.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I don't even know what I was against the spread. I couldn't have been that bad in those games, but yeah, I was 1-3 straight up too. You know. Yeah, hey, I mean, you know, those were some dicey games. I mean, that's what's amazing, and that's what was awesome about it, right? And then of course to get a few curveballs like, wait, what? The Bengals are going to go into Baltimore and dominate the game and win easily, and the Bears are going to go into Philly and just push around the Eagles and run the ball down their throat. I mean, again, that's why the NFL is great, because there are just sometimes, you know, the stars align. One team's ready, one's not. One's on Thanksgiving still. One's ready to play football. And, yeah, those were some shockers early on last week.
It does create a dilemma for me, though, because there are certain games where I just want to watch and enjoy what happens. And in every single game, especially the ones we disagree on, I've got this extra little rooting interest that otherwise would not exist, and it interferes with my ability to just watch the game. And there were plenty of games last week that you could just watch and enjoy, and there are plenty this week. Every window has a high-stakes must-watch game. 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday has 3 of them. We're going to do the picks for every game, as we always do. And first, we take a look back. You had a strong week, straight up, 12-4. You now have a 1-game lead.
Yeah.
You asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, You're Sir Purr and I'm Jackson DeVille.
That's right.
That's a reference to, I think, a comment that was made yesterday.
Right. We both have issues with cats now. We both have a nemesis that's a cat, and that's my new one, Sir Purr.
What's on the next to Chris? What is that? It's like a
it's that little cat.
Oh, a cat tree,
like those little jungle gyms they have which I used to have those back in the day. And you got
is mine litter. A tray of Garfield's lasagna?
Nah,
it looks like a tray of Garfield's lasagna.
It's kitty litter.
Well,
yep, that's right. They're hoping you don't
depending
shit your
upon
pants
who the
this
cook
week.
is, depending upon who the cook is, there may be a fine line between a tray of lasagna and a box of kitty litter. Okay,
right.
Well, there we are, and best bets, we are dead even against the spread. Stop the count, stop the vote. It's over.
Yep.
But straight up, I got to get you straight up. I had a 9-game lead through 2 weeks, and I have systematically squandered it in the weeks since then.
Chip, just chipping away. I'm a fourth quarter football team here right now. Just gonna make it. We play all 4 quarters here. You know, you're cool. You're good in the first quarter. We'll see if you can finish the game now.
Well, it doesn't get any easier.
No,
it doesn't get any easier.
Definitely not this week.
This is a week where you could think it and overthink it, rethink it, think it again, and go back and forth on like 6 or 7 of the games.
Yeah.
We'll see where we landed on this one. Every week this season, by the way, you can play along with us. DraftKings has set up the free $1,000 Florio and Sims pick 'em pool. Pick every game against the spread for a chance at a $1,000 prize pool every single week.
Download the DraftKings app, click on the pools tab, and enter the Florio and Sims free $1,000 pick 'em pool to make your picks.
And by the way, no Thursday night game gets included in the pool, as always, so you have until Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern to get the picks in. $1,000, we need to try to get them to add a 0 to that and make it $10,000. $1,000? I mean, that's like one trip to the grocery store and a tank of gas nowadays.
Well, you know, maybe if you didn't, shit on this whole process every year and do that, maybe they'd be like, hey, we'll put more investment into this.
Listen,
they're not going, hey, this guy's great for business. Let's keep giving them more money and advertisement.
Listen, I don't shit on the process every year. I shit on the process every week.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's more like it. Exactly right.
Get your facts straight.
Right.
Okay. Here we go into. Oh, by the way, we need to mention the teams on a bye. This is the last week of the bye.
Oh,
last week. Patriots, 49ers, Panthers, and Giants are all off this week, so Chris cannot give a very scintillating take about the Panthers that will then. I saw that video. My God, that was merciless.
Right?
I mean, I still don't like that chest thumping that social media teams do because every team is going to win games and lose games, and we're expected to pick games, and we're expected to have opinions, and you can cherry pick anything we say and say you were wrong. You can cherry pick anything we say and say we were right. And I'm not one to go out there and say, hey, I got this right, I got that right. I like to have fun when I accidentally pick the score right for a game because I'm just picking them out of my butt, frankly. I'm not trying to, be Dr. Oz here or Oz or whatever the guy's name is.
You are.
But, we get some right, we get some wrong.
Yeah.
And, if you've lost to the Cardinals and the Saints, you've got no basis to talk shit when a guy tries to do his job and provides what was an accurate assessment, as you said on Wednesday's PFT Live.
Yeah,
and everything you said applied. They just made a couple of stops. They made a couple of stops. They forced a couple of turnovers, and that was the difference in the game on Sunday between the Panthers and the Rams. Okay, Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
And, we saw the highest rated 2 games ever.
Is that incredible?
The 2 Thanksgiving games in the afternoon, the biggest audiences ever for any regular season game. The Cowboys and the Chiefs did 57.23 million. And I say that because tonight, Cowboys at the Lions, the record for a streaming audience is like 24.3, I believe.
Right.
The record for Amazon is 17 and change. I got a feeling.
You got a feeling, huh?
A lot of people are going to watch this one. I think a lot of people are going to watch this one. I think it's going to be a big, big number.
I'm pretty excited about it. I know that. I mean, and I can certainly, understand everybody tuning in to watch it, right? The streaming, as you talked about, is always like we don't know where that goes. But it's 2 marquee names. It's Dallas, who's become the most fun team to watch maybe in all of the sport. So that's going to make you tune in, let alone it's Dallas, which we know people tune in anyways. And Detroit, as we know, has kind of become an NFL brand name the last few years. People love Dan Campbell. People have latched on to their style of football, and to the point with Dallas, they're fun to watch too. So you're going to see some exciting big-time playmakers tonight in a big game that is, not desperation, but about as close as it gets to that, to where you start the 4-alarm fire, right?
I think for the Cowboys, absolutely, they need to
right.
continue this 3-game winning streak. For the Lions, it's not as big of a panic if they lose, but that tie, the Cowboys lose and fall to 6-6-1. They're looking at a maximum possible record of 10-6-1, 11-6 will knock them out without tiebreakers, and I think 10-6-1 is not going to be good enough to make it in the NFC. So they need this one, I think, a little bit more than the Lions. But the idea of the Lions having 3 times the number of losses they had last year with 4 games left, we never would have thought that would happen. So for tonight, the Lions are 3-point favorites at home with a 54.5 over-under. This is the first of 6 games this week where both teams are 500 or better. Do the Lions get win number 8? Do the Cowboys get win number 7 and 4 in a row?
Well, I think it's going to be a really high-scoring football game. I guess that's where I look right away. Right? I don't think there's going to be – the way Detroit's playing on the defensive side of the ball and what you saw last week and what we've seen other weeks, right? They're a team that likes to play man-to-man. All right? They're a team that, with their front 4 – they don't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback. So when I look at that, I just go, that's not a good recipe against Dallas. And then Dallas just runs the ball just enough to keep you honest. And if they have a little success, they're pretty good at staying with it. That's one of Schottenheimer's calling cards, is the run game. But he knows right now the calling card for this team is the pass game and these 2 damn receivers that are just absolutely on fire. And I think with that and the style of play, I expect them to score a lot of points. Now, the other side of the ball, I also expect the Lions to be able to move the ball on the Dallas Cowboys. But Dallas has been better as of late. And we've seen Detroit not quite be the same offense. The Ben Johnson and not having him effect is real in Detroit. There's no denying that anymore. You can just turn on film. If you and I sat there and watched, and then we went back and watched last year and stuff, you'd go, oh, yeah, it's definitely not as creative. It's not the same. And I think with all of that being said, Dallas being the hot team, Detroit being a little wobbly right now, and then, right, it's the first time I think there's pressure on Dan Campbell because of the 4th downs and everything that's there. And then they're a beat-up football team again. Like, I can't deny that the injuries for the Lions scare me a little bit. I'm going to go Cowboys 37-28 on the road tonight.
Ooh, 37-28?
Yep.
Cowboys by 9?
I think it's like one of those where it's like maybe 30-28 and they score a late touchdown to put it away, right? Like a close 37-28. But I think they will win the game and somewhat convincing fashion that way. I'm going to go with it.
We're going to let the Lions social media know there will be a lengthy video posted next week when the Lions win. The Cowboys had beaten the Lions 6 straight times, but last year Detroit went into Dallas and splattered them 47-9. That was the game where Aiden Hutchinson suffered the broken leg and was out for the rest of the year. Other than that, it was all Lions that day, and I think that stings a little bit for the Cowboys. They remember that well. Look, as you said, they're the most fun team to watch in the NFL right now. The offense with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens catching the passes from Dak Prescott, it's just fun. It's fun. I've been welcomed onto the bandwagon. I've had some Cowboys fans try to keep me off. No, you don't get a vote. When somebody in the organization reaches out and welcomes me on, which is what happened, I'm on the bandwagon, and I'm not giving up now. And you knew I wasn't going to not pick the Cowboys. I mean, you knew where this was going tonight. 27-24. The Cowboys find a way, and they keep it going. They have that magic right now. And as Pete points out, Next Gen Stats has the Cowboys' odds of making the playoffs at 31% with a win, 6% with a loss. So they're just about done if they lose, and they know it. They know it. And Dak Prescott had the comments after the win over the Chiefs. None of this matters. Nothing we've done matters. The only thing that matters is the next game, and it starts when we get back to work, and we got to do everything necessary to focus on getting to the point where we can do the kneel downs at the end of the game. And under your assessment, 37-28, they'll be doing some kneel downs at the end of the game. We both have the Cowboys winning to start
the Lions
week
are just
14.
Inconsistent, right? I mean, and this is a week where they're supposed to win. We're going through an 8-week stretch of lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. This is supposed to be a win tonight. But I think it finally catches up to them, to both your and I's point there.
I think to make it as simple as possible, I think the Lions are going to be tight and the Cowboys are going to be loose.
Yeah, right.
I really do.
Right.
I mean, when I think this is the psychology year over year. When you had that great season where you were 15-2, and you had everything in front of you, and you blew it in the divisional round, I think it's so hard to go back to 0-0 and fight your way out of it. And once it starts to slip, it can all fall apart. And I feel like between the injuries and the very significant consequences of not having Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell calling plays, and it's frankly not going well, way too predictable on fourth downs. I mean, anybody playing, if you're preparing to face the Lions, you are assuming your defense is going to be out there for 4 downs. There isn't any relief. You don't exhale when you stop them on 3rd down. You get ready for the next play. And once that element is part of the defense's game planning and preparation, you lose your edge.
Definitely.
Of going
and you
for it
don't
on
have
4th
Ben
downs.
Johnson.
One of the reasons why they're struggling.
Right. And Ben Johnson had all those creative plays and those gotta-have-it moments. That's what's special about Ben Johnson. That's why we're watching the Bears and the craziness of what? The Bears are leading the NFC, the number 1 seed? Yeah, it's the Ben Johnson effect. I think it's very real across the whole Lions football team.
All right, the Seahawks are on the road on Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern against the Falcons. Seattle 9-3, coming off of a 26-0 shutout of the Vikings. The Falcons 4-8. They lost to the Jets in New Jersey. Seattle's favored by 7. Seattle continues to be very good on the road. They had that narrow loss to the Rams a couple of weeks ago. Other than that, they hadn't lost a road game since early in the 2024 regular season. 7-point favorites, over under 44.5. 86% of the spread money is on the Falcons presumably, the bettors like it at Kirk Cousins. Do you, in this game, pitting a couple of former Vikings quarterbacks?
No, I don't like him to win the football game. I mean, I know 7 points is a lot of points, but I don't understand really even with that why the majority of people would be on the Atlanta Falcons and trust them. I mean, where do you trust them? That's what I don't get. The offense is iffy at best. The defense is falling apart. Their special teams isn't very good. with all that said, I just go, there's no way I could throw money down on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm definitely not picking them to win the football game. I'm going to go Seahawks 27-17. And the reasons being just basically be shocked that the Falcons can run the ball on Seattle. That's just not an easy task, as we know. They got some big ballers up front. And then the other aspect of it is it's a receiving group that's not even 100%, as we know, in Atlanta. And off of that, this is a group that can cover in Seattle. We've talked all year, they don't have a lot of guys that separate. Well, they're not going to separate from Seattle. I can tell you that. Seattle's secondary, I think, will have them on lockdown. And then the state of the Atlanta defense, I can't trust that right now. When Seahawks can run the ball a little bit, which I think they'll be able to do against Atlanta, that's when it becomes scary with all their cool play action passes and the weapons they got. 27-17 Seahawks.
I got 31-17 Seahawks. And look, they reestablished themselves last week after the close loss to the Rams. And they can't afford to screw up here because they got the Colts and then short week Rams coming up. I look at it this way. The Seahawks are collectively chasing the same thing. The Falcons are in to play out the string mode. So you've got different guys with different motivations. And it's easy to fracture that way and not be on the same page. The Seahawks are fully on the same page. They want that showdown with the Rams for the NFC West title and maybe the number 1 seed. I mean, they're right there. We talk about Bears-Rams.
Right.
The Seahawks are right there for the number 1 seed as well. And if you have to go to Seattle in the playoffs, good luck with that. 31-17, Seahawks set the stage for their next 2 games, which will be extremely significant. Okay, speaking of games that will be extremely significant, one of 3 can't-miss, must-see early window Sunday games. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-6 at Baltimore, 6-6, the first of 2 meetings to come for Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The Ravens are favored by 6 points at home. 42.5 over/under, and this is the first of 3 divisional games this weekend where the winner will have sole possession of first place in their division. Who do you like?
Well, I mean, it's in Baltimore, right? I think the Ravens are the better football team, even though they're not playing to their full capacity. There's some concerns. I kind of broke this down on my Tuesday podcast this week, Mike. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, right? Just the Ravens' offense is not functioning at a very high level, as we saw last week. Now, some of that was self-inflicted. Lamar fumbles on his own 5-yard line, and Isaiah Likely gets the North Korea fumbles into the end zone. And I don't care who the you are. You make those kind of mistakes, you're going to be in a ball game. It's just the way it goes. But on top of that, the point being is Lamar Jackson has not been himself ever since he came back from the injury. He's not running as much. He's not making nearly as many as explosive plays in the pass game as far as scrambling. There's not been many quarterback design runs. There's a lot of plays where I go, oh, he's about to turn the corner and run for 25 here. Ooh, he didn't get the corner. He got pushed out for 3. So that's not the same. And then he's not throwing the ball. He hasn't got back into just grooving the ball like we know he can. I mean, Lamar Jackson has been a machine throwing the football the last few years. People open by an inch, 2 inches, whatever. He stripes it in there. Right now, he's missing throws and not seeing the field real well. And I've been there because when you miss a few weeks in the NFL sometimes and you come back in, it just feels like, whoa, everybody's playing great and into the season. And I feel like I'm just getting to start to get a feel here. But nonetheless, how can you pick the Steelers? I mean, what's there to like? The Steelers, I have no faith in them. And then even though the Ravens' offense is struggling, it's not struggling to such an extent that I think the Steelers' defense is going to stop it. 27-14 Ravens.
Last year, the Steelers won in Pittsburgh, and it was one of those classic Steelers pull it out of your butt.
Right.
Right. And I went with pasta and meatballs and picked the Steelers then. I remember that. And I shouldn't have. The Ravens were the better team last year, and then the Ravens beat them twice later in the year at home, once in the regular season, once in the postseason. The Ravens, I think, on paper, across the board, are the better team. Miles Simmons made this point earlier today on PFT Live, and I'm going to steal it from him and repeat it here. This is a simple calculation for the Ravens and for the Steelers. Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry.
I hear you.
And if the Steelers sell out to stop the run, they dare Lamar Jackson to beat them. And this will be the key. Is Lamar back? And I think the Steelers will. It's a pride thing. After getting gashed last week at home, the most yards allowed on the ground at home in 50 years. I think the Steelers will do everything they can to keep Derrick Henry from systematically ramming the ball down their throats, and it will be opportunity for Lamar Jackson to get himself back on track. And he's going to be bringing an element of pride into this.
I would think
He's been great for the most part in prime time. He was anything but great last Thursday night. He's had a little extra time to recover. And I think that, at some point, he's going to be as close to 100% as he's going to be this year from all these different injuries.
Right.
I think that, and look, I was right on 19-13. I think 6 points is too big of a spread for this. I think the Steelers will do everything they can to keep it close, but at the end of the day, they will lose. I believe 19-14, Ravens win. And the Steelers, according to Next Gen Stats, if they lose, their playoff chances go down to 15%. And by the way, it sets the stage for what could be an ugly Monday night home game against the Dolphins, where you're not going to have a lot of fans show up, and those who do are going to be chanting "Fire Tomlin," and they're going to be booing during Renegade, and the terrible towels are going to be left in the car. That's what it's going to be like that Monday night if the Steelers lose this game.
Yeah, I hear that, Mike. And I'll be interested to see what happens with the defense like you talked about. Because that's another thing I broke down on my Tuesday podcast. The Bills ran, and you heard TJ Watt's comment, right? I never saw one team run the same play so many times over and have success. They ran 2 run plays the whole night. And just basically, the Steelers couldn't stop it. So I'm at the point a little bit to what you're talking about, where I go, if the Steelers go all out to stop the run, I don't even know if they're capable of stopping it then. I'm dead serious. It's embarrassing the way they look right now. It's going to be interesting to see how this game unfolds.
Well, if they're ever going to win a must-have-it game, it's now after everything that's gone on there this week. I just don't feel like collectively they have the skill level right now. At what point do we have to see it play out? They're 2-5 over the last 7 games.
Right.
At some point, we just have to forget the uniform, forget the history, forget the guys who aren't on the field like Mike Tomlin, and focus on the guys who are on the field. And no matter how badly they want it, I just don't think it's in the cards for the Steelers this week. Another must-see game.
Yeah.
For Week 14 in the 1 o'clock window. This one originally was going to be at 4:25 Eastern. It got flexed out. But you know what?
Yeah, maybe they should have thought about that. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now, Bears-Packers, we're going to talk about it later. That's the game that took the spot on Fox at 4:25. It was going to be Tom Brady's first time back in Buffalo as a broadcaster, and maybe some interesting things would have been flying up into the over the plexiglass.
What interesting things are you referring to? I don't understand. Tell me.
I don't know, certain devices. Certain devices that
like
Bills
batteries?
fans have
iPods, iPads?
have a history.
What are you talking about?
Have a history.
Oh.
Have a history of throwing onto the field with his name on them. That's just what they do. That's their thing. When that whole thing started this summer, it's like, this has been going on for a while, folks. The Bills started doing it every time Tom Brady came to town. Anyway, he won't be there. He'll be at Lambeau Field. Bengals at Bills. Bengals are 4-8, and they had that big win on Thanksgiving night on NBC and Peacock. Bills at 8-4 after beating the Steelers. The Bills are favored by 5.5 with an over-under of 53.5. The Bengals' playoff chances are currently 4%. If they lose, it goes down to 1%. Their only chance is to pull the inside straight and slip past the Ravens and the Steelers. And they're still alive. They still can do it.
Right.
And we saw them go up there and win in the playoffs 27-10 a couple of weeks ago. This is not an impossibility. And the Bengals clearly have a different swagger and a different vibe with Joe Burrow. Is that enough to pull off the upset?
No question.
As 5.5-point underdogs.
No, they have a different vibe, right? I had Orlando Brown Jr. on my pod this week a little bit, and he just, when Shiesty's in the lineup, we all believe. The whole locker room believes, right? That's what he's calling Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. So, yeah, that is certainly a real factor. And I know you mentioned it, right? I mean, whether it's the, Damar Hamlin game, right, that looked like, whoa, Cincinnati's got some stuff going here in that game. And then, yes, the playoff game the year before that, Cincinnati handled Buffalo in Buffalo. They match up well with Buffalo. And why I say that is because, first off, the Buffalo Bills can't play man-to-man, right? That's not what their bread and butter is. And if T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are in there, that's a big issue, right? So, now we have to play zone. And unfortunately, the Bills are a really great zone team. You know that. I love McDermott's game planning and stuff like that. But against a guy like Joe Shiesty and Joe Burrow and that group, they have a system, and he works that system to perfection. And we know if you play zone against Joe Burrow too much, he's just going to manipulate you and dink and dunk and boom and 5 yards here, 8 yards here, 5 yards here. Oh, you're getting sick of that? Oh, double move Jamar Chase 70 yards over the top. So that's what's scary for Buffalo in this one. And then within that, they worry about the pass game so much that we've seen the Bengals be able to run the ball on Buffalo because they know they're outmatched in the pass game. So I think that's one big thing you have to be able to look at. But I don't know if I feel like the Bengals are quite good enough to win a shootout type of game or good enough on defense yet for me to sit here and say, yeah, they're going to stop Josh Allen and James Cook. And even though the passing game isn't like awesome, it's still good enough against a Bengals defense that's not real special in that department. If Burrow had been playing a few weeks, I might have picked him, but I can't do it with Buffalo being at home. I'm going to take the Bills 28-24.
Here's what's surprising to me. I'm looking at the Bengals injuries, and the big name is T. Higgins. He had the concussion against the Patriots. It was too quick to turn around by Thursday night, but now it's going to be 2 weeks removed. He was limited in practice on Wednesday. There are like 5 different clearances you have to pass before you can return to action. If he's on the field, as you said, that's going to be huge. Joe Burrow's name is not on the report. That means he's not even getting treatment on the toe at this point. He's back. He's fine. And he had extra time after their last game. And they're motivated. They're driven. He was emotional after winning that game on Thanksgiving night. They're in the same boat they were in last year, where they got to go pedal to the metal and just hope that it all works out. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But what they can control is each and every game. I think the Bengals win this one. The score that I selected, let's see what I pulled out of my rear end here, 30-27. The Bengals win the game. I don't feel strongly about it. I mean, I don't think they lose by 5.5, but who knows? I think it's a toss-up game. And the Bills are just one of those teams where they're hard to trust. They're hard to trust. Like what we saw last week in Pittsburgh. Yeah. I don't know that we duplicate that this weekend. And we know the Bengals have the history going up there and winning, and they feel like they have a little more pop right now. So I'm going to roll the dice on the Bengals winning the game.
All right. I like it.
From compelling Sunday games to not so compelling. The Titans take on the Browns in Cleveland. The Titans are 1-11. The Browns are 3-9. The most interesting storyline here is it's Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders, who were kind of joined at the hip in the pre-draft process. One goes number 1 overall. One falls all the way to round 5. They're going to be meeting on the field for Shedeur Sanders' third straight start. The Browns are favored by 4.5 with 33.5. If it closes at 33.5, it would be the lowest over-under of the season, and the 3 lowest totals this year have been Cleveland home games. Do the Browns get their 4th win of the year against the embattled and woeful Titans?
Yeah, it's going to be a defensive struggle. The under, my score is 16-9, and did I think about 13-9? Did I think about 13-6? Those kind of scores? Yes, I did. I'm going with the Browns. You know that. Cleveland at home, that defense, right? The Titans' offense, disaster. Cam Ward, right, takes too many sacks. That's going to be part of the problem. Cam Ward still is going to fire the ball down the football field, too, which I don't think is going to be a good thing against Cleveland. Right? I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like that day, but I wouldn't expect it. It seems like the whole country's cold and a little bit windy this weekend, so it's not going to be favorable, conditions for that. Now, the other side of this is Tennessee could do some of this stuff to Cleveland, right? Tennessee's defense is damn good. It's damn good. It's the offense that's the issue. You hear me say that every week, right? But here's an offense or 2 offenses that are kind of not very good to where, we can be in a defensive struggle. But I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns defense making a few more plays than the Titans defense. And Shedeur will play. I have confidence Shedeur will play. He's not going to be the fault. He'll take a sack. He'll throw the ball away, whatever. He's not going to throw a dicey ball. That's not what he does, right? Good and bad there. There's to be broken down. Cam Ward has tremendous faith in his arm and his ability. He's going to see somebody and go, oh, there's a little window 35 yards down the field. Zoom, and try to throw it like that. And that, I don't think, is a good thing in this one. So 16-9 Browns.
Based on the weather app on my iPhone, and they purchased the dark sky technology, but I'll just say it. It isn't nearly as accurate as it was when it was dark sky, which was the gold standard, the platinum standard of weather prediction. It does seem off, but they've got a high of 35, a low of 27. It'll be freezing temperatures at game time, a wintry mix possible. The wind, not real bad, maybe gusting up to 20, but for the most part, 10 to 15 miles per hour, again, assuming that's accurate. So it's not going to be a huge factor, but it's December and it's Cleveland. That's what you're going to get when you play outdoors, and that's the way it's going to be until they move into their new stadium.
And
so I'm with you.
Okay, good. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, don't say it. Yeah, don't.
They don't know the weather. They're spraying, so you don't know. It's all over the place. There's 0% chance of rain one day, and then the next day it rains 100% and it rains an inch. They're spraying. You know it, and I know it. That's why they can't tell. That's your dark sky problem.
17-13.
Oh, 17-13.
The final score.
All right.
17-13. So I'm giving the Titans the cover, which I'm kind of nervous about, but 17-13, that's the score I picked. I didn't think the spread would be 4.5. It is. So, but I see a close, hard-fought game. And, it's funny. It feels a little high scoring at 17-13.
Yeah.
That's 30 total points.
Right.
That's under.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe we got to think about the under as one of the best bets this week.
It's on my radar.
All right, on to the next one. Colts at the Jaguars. The Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. And the Jaguars, more often than not, are not good. That is an indictment of what the Colts have been in recent years. They can't go on the road in the division and beat a team that has been among the not great franchises in the NFL. That's astounding to me. Both teams are 8-4. The winner will be in first place in the AFC South. The Colts, despite not winning in Jacksonville since 2014, are 1.5-point favorites, 47.5 over/under. And this is a critical game because the winner is going to be in great position to win the division. The winner, if the Indy wins, they're 86% chance of making the playoffs. If Jacksonville wins, it goes to 95%. Who do you think pulls off the victory?
I'm not going to lie. Like, the whole winning streak thing really actually affects, like, my brain in this discussion, right? A little bit in the way where it's like, They can't win again at home, right? It's got to break at some point, this streak, right? I mean, that it's literally, it has affected me to be like, is this the year? I mean, how many years in a row can they win at home? But I feel like the Jaguars are playing good ball right now. No, and the big thing is the Jaguars defense, right? You've heard me all year long talk about, hey, the Jaguars defense has got talent. They make plays. They do that. But they're a hair too aggressive, and they let up big plays too. Last 4 or 5 weeks, that's calmed down. There's not as much offensive big plays going on against Jacksonville's defense. So I think they got the personnel and the right scheme attack here to slow down the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis, I'm a little worried about Daniel Jones and his lack of mobility. That's an issue. You could see it. Right, like we talked about last week, the fact that he can't scramble or run an RPO for a 10 or 15-yard gain every now and then has become an issue. They can't find ways to push the ball down the field right now very much, and they haven't been able to run the ball very well. And Jacksonville can stop the run. So that all scares me. And the Jaguars are kind of hot. And I do feel like Trevor's been playing a little bit better football. To me, the game is going to come down to this. And I know this is like but in this game especially, because these are both teams that kind of bend, and then it's hard to score touchdowns against them in the red zone. And it's who can score one more touchdown instead of settling for that field goal. It's going to be a big part of this game. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 24-20, Mike.
Wow. It's almost a bizarro bingo, bango, bongo. I've got the Colts 23-20. And the Colts could have / should have beaten the Texans. There were a bunch of bad calls in last week's game.
Yeah, it was.
They hurt the Colts overall more than they hurt the Texans. That extra point was critical because it would have been a 3-point game down the stretch, not a 4-point game. But I think the Colts could have beaten the Texans. I think the Colts are good enough to go in there, and they understand how long it's been. I don't know how mobile Daniel Jones is going to be with that broken bone in his leg. He's got a pad that they made with a 3D printer, for crying out loud, that he's going to wear on it. I don't know that suddenly transforms him into the guy that he is when he's fully healthy and he is a dual-threat quarterback. That part is gone. But this is a Jonathan Taylor day. He's got to bust loose. I think he will, and I think the Colts will get enough points to emerge with the 3-point victory. Okay, next up, can we just skip the next game? Do we have to do Commanders, Vikings?
You like it, J.J. McCarthy, huh?
The Commanders, I don't like it at Max Brosmer. The Commanders are 3-9, and the Vikings are 4-8. The loser is mathematically eliminated, which is going to happen either way for both teams at some point. Vikings are favored by 2.5, over-under of 42.5. McCarthy is likely back, and the Commanders likely still have Marcus Mariota at quarterback. We got to get that right. I get so many emails like, why are they saying his name that way? That's the way he wants it to be said.
It was all over social media. It was everywhere.
So it's people aren't, accidentally saying it that way. That's what he wants. So Mariota versus J.J. McCarthy. Who do you have?
Well, I usually let you go first here with this team in this game, but I'll take it, all right? One, I think the Commanders will be able to run the ball, right? That's what I look at. And to me, that's the big thing. It's the Commanders, when you kind of look at their success, if their defense doesn't get blown off the field like it did early on in the year, right, then they weren't able to run the ball. They had to get pass heavy, and things weren't good for Washington. When their defense can kind of stay and keep the team in the game, which they've been better ever since Dan Quinn took over the play calling, which I want to be like, what took so long for Dan Quinn to take over the play calling? Please, somebody tell me that. I mean, we saw 10 or 11 weeks of shitty defense, and we just kept staying with it. Like, at what point do you jump in? And again, you're hired to coach the defense. I just can't stand that about some defensive head coaches in football right now, right? So, he's going to come in and save the day, but I want to go, no, you already lost the day. You were the head coach and didn't coach the defense and didn't recognize there was a big problem there for quite some time. So Dan Quinn deserves some of this burden of why Washington has fallen apart, right? We know the Jaden Daniels injury, but within all that, when their defense doesn't get blown out of the water, and they can stay with the run like we saw last week, they have a special run game. And then Mariota is going to make a few plays scrambling and on the design quarterback runs as well. And then, I just don't have any faith in your offense right now, your quarterback situation or anything that way, right? So I'm going to go Commanders 23-20. Screw your Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going Vikings 24-21, mainly because it's probably the last time this year I'll pick them, and we'll see what happens. McCarthy, we'll see what he's learned from his week off. We'll see if they've managed to – I don't know. The flaws in his game are not easily fixable. Inaccuracy, we just take it for granted. High-level quarterbacks are supposed to hit the open man. That one-pitch arsenal, the fastball all the time, you and I have talked about this. I've written about it. It takes away the layering of the intermediate routes. Right. That was a big part of the Vikings offense the past few years. It limits what they can do. I just think this is one of those pride, gotta have it, avoid a disaster. Let's just do something to reestablish ourselves after what happened last week. And if Kevin O'Connell can't get their attention after a goose egg and get them to do something, then maybe he's got to change his style too. He is a very player-friendly, nice guy, effective coach for the most part. This is his first time recovering from a goose egg. We'll see what he does with it. I think he'll pull off the victory 24-21. All right, the Miami Dolphins are taking on the New York Jets. The Dolphins are 5-7. They are 5-7, and the Jets won last week. This is an interesting game all of a sudden. 83% of the spread money is on Miami. The Dolphins favored by 2.5 with an over-under of 41.5. Who do you like?
I like Miami. Now, the Jets, as we know, they're not playing horrible. That's for sure. But Tyrod Taylor's added a bump to their offense because they have a real offense now and a real passing game they can play through. But I like the way Miami's been playing lately. One, their defense is good. Miami's defense has been damn good, so I don't expect the Jets to be able to move the ball up and down the field on them by any capacity. And then the other side of it, to me, a little bit is, the Jets, as you've heard me say, their pass defense is good. I don't think they're going to have a ton of plays, Miami, but Miami has been pretty good at staying patient with the run, too. So I think this is kind of an ugly football game. I think the Jets defense will keep them in it. I don't think they're going to let Miami just run roughshod and make big plays everywhere. That's not going to happen. That's not what Miami really is anymore. The pass game, you don't really see very many big plays now that Tyreek Hill's been out of the lineup and all that. They're kind of a ball control pass offense, and they wait for their run game to break a big one. I just have a little more faith in what they're doing and how their team right now. I'm going to take the Dolphins 20-17 on the road.
Yeah, look, the Dolphins have really turned it around. They haven't lost since they fired GM Chris Greer. And they are buying another year from Mike McDaniel and for Tua Tagovailoa. The $54 million fully guaranteed contract next year buys Tua another year. But it's going to create an awkward situation because you're going to have McDaniel, who presumably is going to stay. You're going to have a new GM that may be just buying time until a new coach can be hired. It sets up for dysfunction next year, but they're functioning right now. I've got the Dolphins 27-20. What was your score?
20
to
17. 20 to 17.
Okay, yeah. I got 27-20. We haven't had a bingo bango in a while, and we don't have one there. All right, another game that has one team that is very much alive. The other team is very much dead. The Saints at 2-10. The Bucs at 7-5. It's an over/under of 8.5. The Saints have been mathematically eliminated, and do they fall to 2-11 against their division rivals?
Oh, yeah, I do expect them to lose here. Yeah, I mean, the Saints play hard. They do that. Their defense is a pain in the ass. But I think with Bucky Irvin back and Chris Godwin back like we saw last week, and a Bucs team that realizes that it's getting tight there in the NFC South, they're just a better football team overall than the New Orleans Saints. It's in Tampa. Right, I give respect to Tyler Shuck and some of the things he's doing on the offensive side of the ball, but I just don't know if they're good enough. Again, I kind of said this last week in the pass game to take advantage of the weakness of the Buccaneers' pass defense isn't all that great. I'm sorry, my score is Buccaneers 24-17 in this one.
I think that the Buccaneers, look, they got to take advantage of the fact that the schedule is softened. They've got 2 games coming up against the Panthers. They can't lose their focus. They need this one badly. They are getting healthier. The Buccaneers win 31-20 and get ready for what should be a very good game next week against the Carolina Panthers. All right, that is the end of the 1 o'clock window. When we return, the late afternoon games, including one of the most significant Bears-Packers games this late in the season in decades. We'll break that one down and more next on Chris Sims Unbuttoned and PFTPM. Chris Sims Unbuttoned, PFTPM Joint Mega Picks podcast for Week 14. Only 4 weeks left in the regular season after this one. The Denver Broncos take their 10-2 record and their reputation for playing with their food to Las Vegas. 2-10 are the Raiders, one of the worst teams in all of football. But they had a Thursday night game a few weeks back where
it was the ugliest
Broncos
game of the year.
Almost blew it.
Right.
Almost blew it.
Yeah.
Ugly game. They were getting booed at home. They were riding like a 6-game winning streak, and the fans weren't happy. Denver's favored by 7.5 with an over-under of 40.5. I guess the only question here is, do they cover?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have them cover, but I wouldn't bet on it. Right? I mean, you know, Denver, as we know, I mean, they're it's rare to see a team that's 10-2 where you go, hey, let's look at the games and how many times they've controlled another team and really dominated a game. And when you look at it, you go, wow, a 10-2 team, they have one win the whole year where you go, okay, they won convincingly and played really good football in all 3 phases and were dominant. And that was the Cowboys game. Other than that, I mean, it's like, oh, my God. Okay, they won. Okay, good. They won. Right, but with all that, that's frustrating, and we know that defense is awesome, and that's really why I'm going to go Broncos 20-10, just because, yeah, the Raiders, the offense, negative Ghost Rider. There's, of course, I'm not putting any stock in that unit being able to move the ball on the Broncos, and that Raiders defense, as we've discussed many weeks, is a little better than people think. There's just not a lot of talent there, but they'll give the Broncos some issues, but it's still not enough there. Broncos 20-10 on the road.
34-17, Denver Broncos. That's probably more points than they'll score. But the Raiders, it's just kind of like this systematic thing. It feels like it's going to be close early, and then the other team pulls away. They're going through the chaos with Chip Kelly out, Greg Olsen running the offense, and we're getting into that same vibe. Broncos, they're all rowing in the same direction. The Raiders, who knows what the hell's going on there. People thinking about what's next for them, coaches, players, etc. I think it's going to be very difficult to pull together and keep it close against the Broncos. All right, the LA Rams, after losing in Carolina, they play at Arizona, where the Cardinals have fallen to 3-9. The Rams are favored by 7.5 with an over-under of 47.5. 83% of the spread money is on the Rams. By the way, I am a miserable 2-8-2 against the spread in all Arizona games this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me just give you this one. Don't pick them, okay? Make sure you pick the Rams here, all right? Just in case you were wondering. Because, yeah, I mean, how can you pick Arizona? I mean, there's things to respect, right? I mean, Jacoby Brissett does some good things in the past game, but they just seem to get in their way no matter what it is. I mean, you know, even again last week, the interceptions in the red zone, a great drive, miss a chip shot field goal. The game's 17-10. and you're on your own 34-yard line and you go for it on 4th and 1 and put your team down 2 scores without the other team even having to move the ball. Self-inflicted idiotness there. So, yeah, and then I think the Rams are going to be pissed off. Right, and I expect Matthew Stafford and company to pick apart the Arizona defense, and I expect the Rams defense to, of course, be damn good against this Cardinals offense that's all over the place and not all that impressive. I got my bad here. I got 31-21 Rams.
Oh, I got 30-20. So close to the bingo, the bango, and the bongo. But yeah, this is a reestablisher game for the Rams after what happened last week, and they got some big games coming up. They got the Lions and the Seahawks on a Sunday and a Thursday. This is just like Seattle. Now isn't the time to slip up because some big games are coming, so we both have the Rams winning and covering that one. Now comes the big game in the 4:25 p.m. Eastern window, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it because I've thought about this. We talked about it yesterday on PFT Live. To have both teams this good this late in the season meeting at this juncture.
Yeah, it was a great
Lambeau
point by
Field,
you.
Bears, Packers. I mean, for the division lead and the 1 seed. The winner of this game is going to be in play for the 1 seed. The Packers could end up with the 1 seed. Jordan Love could end up being the MVP. If right now it's Drake May and Matthew Stafford. If the Packers take the 1 seed in the NFC, Jordan Love's going to get MVP votes. He's been playing extremely well. It's all been quiet because I think with the Packers, we focus on their bad games and we don't pay attention to their good games because it's like, how'd you lose to the Browns? How'd you lose to the Panthers? But they just keep going. And what they did to the Lions, last week was extremely impressive. Can they keep it going with the Bears team that has won 9 out of 10 games? The Packers are favored by 6.5. The over-under is 44.5.
This is going to be an interesting football game. I'm really excited about it, right? I mean, the Bears over the last few weeks, I think, have changed my thought about how serious of a contender they are. Not only because, some of the games they won, it's the style in which they're playing and winning now, right? Their defense has become pretty damn good here. After, I think early season, new system, Dennis Allen, I think he's got them greased up a little bit here to where you look at what they're doing, they're playing pretty good ball. They got tricked a few times against the Steelers, and Caleb Williams gave them an easy touchdown in the end zone, and we saw all that. So I think that was a little misleading as far as that. But all in all, I've been kind of impressed with that. Now the big thing is we know the Bears' run game is special, but the Packers have the most special run defense in the game, just about. Not many teams have been able to run on the Packers. I will say overall, the Packers losing Devontae Wyatt, their Georgia first-round D tackle from a few years ago, for the year is a big thing in the overall picture. I think the Bears will be able to run the ball on the Packers to a certain extent. Not like we saw against the Eagles. They might get 100 yards, but they're not going to be able to just go, hey, we can win the game pounding the rock in between the tackles. That's not. And that, to me, is why I think Ben Johnson made the comments a little bit about the passing game early this week. I think he watched a little film and was like, well, we're not going to be able to run the ball all the time against this group here. They'll sell out to stop the run, too. The pass game is going to have to deliver for the Bears this week. And I think this is a week that Caleb Williams and company will answer the challenge here, right? I think that there's plays to be had. You can throw the ball against this secondary and these corners in Green Bay and do that. And even though with the Jordan Love, like you talk about, the offense been a little bit better, right? Last week, yes, it was great. But we've seen the Lions put it on the silver platter. Like you always hear me talk about with the Packers. Oh, one-on-one. That's what they want. Every kind of game you look at where you go, Jordan Love was pretty good, it's all one-on-one coverage. The Bears aren't going to do that. They're not going to make a living and let him just throw one-on-one balls. They're smart enough in that department. So that's another thing I just look at that. So I don't trust the Packers offense totally yet, but I'm a little scared to your point and everything you're saying. The Bears been playing good ball. I believe in Ben Johnson. I'm going Bears 27-24 on the road.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't change my pick. I got Packers 24-23. 24-23.
It's tight, right?
I think 6.5 is ridiculously high.
Right.
And I saw an article where the betting public just generally doesn't believe in the Bears yet. I'm sure they do in Chicago, but beyond Chicago, the belief isn't there. I do agree with you. We talked about this on Wednesday's PFT Live. Ben Johnson's comments from Monday were intended to send a message.
I think so.
And the message was received.
Yeah.
Right? They want more out of Caleb Williams. If they are going to make a push late, if they're going to parlay 9-3 into the 1 seed, Caleb has to do more in the passing game. It can't just be DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. And by the way, Monangai was a DNP yesterday with an ankle injury, so we'll keep an eye on that one as the week unfolds. Hey, this is one of those where I wish this game wasn't being played while we're in the middle of doing a TV show.
I know,
because I want to watch this one all the way to the end. Maybe we'll get a little snow in the air.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to be that
Lambeau
look.
Field, it's December.
Right.
It's the oldest rivalry in the NFL with the most relevant game they've played against each other since the 2010 NFC Championship. It's just going to be fun. Hopefully there won't be any funky different uniforms. Let's just show up with the normal Bears-Packers uniforms and let's go. Let's do this thing. And they do it again 13 days later in primetime on a Saturday night. Couple of great games coming up between these two teams. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
How does the Ben Johnson bravado directed at Matt LaFleur affect this, if at all? Remember when he was introduced, I love beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. He said Stumble Bomb was a Matt LaFleur-inspired play because they accidentally fell down coming out from under center, and it gave Ben Johnson the idea. How much of that rivalry factors into this game?
I think it's it's going to be a little bit. Hey, they think they're offensive geniuses, right? They both have a little bit of a cockiness about them and a belief in themselves. And Ben's maybe a little more vocal with it altogether. But I have a little relationship with Matt LaFleur through the years and working with Shanahan and all that. I asked him about it specifically. And when we were at the owners' meetings, you were there because I was like, that was fresh off of Ben Johnson and him saying some of the stuff, right? So I was like, oh, hey, Ben Johnson taking some shots at you. You guys are pretty good friends. Like, I thought he was going to be like, yeah, we're actually, and he was like, no, I actually don't even really know him all that well. So that was what was awesome too. And I don't think he'd have any problem with me sharing that with him. But I think Ben just embraces the rivalry. And I think Matt LaFleur knows as well. And I think it'll be, personal, but professionally personal, right? I don't think it's like that. I think both respect each other and know they're somewhat offensive geniuses. And they just want to be the head offensive genius in their division, and I think that's kind of where it stops right there.
It is amazing to think these two teams founded on pounding defense and running the ball are coached by a couple of offensive geniuses, and who knows, maybe it'll be a trick play from the Packers. Hey, look, the Packers stole that game in Detroit by going for it on 4th down, and they didn't have that same reputation. It was a surprise. Going for it on 4th and short from just outside the 20 and throwing to the end zone. I mean, they went for it.
They did.
It'll be interesting to see which coach is more likely to go for it on Sunday, but that should be a great game to cap the afternoon window. We're going to take a break. When we return, 2 massive primetime games between Sunday and Monday night with very real playoff implications for both teams. And could it be the Chiefs' last stand? We're going to discuss that next on Chris Sims Unbuttoned and PFTPM. Joint Mega Picks Podcast.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code CORNERBACK when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
And as always, please wager responsibly, only with money that you can afford to lose, because if you listen to me, you will. I'm not going to include Chris because Chris believes he's cracked the code. Chris has a system. Chris is feeding picks to his hedge fund guys out there who are laying down big cheddar on the DraftKings app.
Definitely not. I have a few rich friends who listen into it, but sometimes it's funny. They'll literally go, I listened to your best picks. I can't believe you didn't pick this game. You said this and this, so I didn't listen to you on your best bets. I listened to you on this game, and that's where I go, oh, man, why didn't I hear myself say that, right? So that's what's funny about the whole subject.
Well, I can say and predict what you're going to say about this next game because it's the Houston Texans 7-5 at the 6-6 Kansas City Chiefs, and the Texans defense is good enough to win games all by itself. If that would be a great T-shirt, it's just too much to fit. You may have to abbreviate some things. Anyway, last year the Texans went to Kansas City twice late in the year. Late December, they lost 27-19 in the regular season. They lost 23-14 in the playoffs. they've kind of kept it close and
Yeah.
interesting with the Chiefs, and that's when the Chiefs were a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
This year, here comes the best defense in the NFL, 4 straight wins, and the Chiefs have kind of been living on the ropes. At some point, they're either going to push themselves off the ropes or they're going to fall through. This is the week that we're going to find out which way it's going to go. Which way do you think it's going to go?
I'm going to go fall through. I'm going to go they fall through the ropes here. I am. One, I think like that played into my opinion of the game a little bit, like what you talked about with last year. I think the Texans took that personal. I think the Texans are very aware of, like, if we want to kill the snake, we got to cut the head off right here. This is it. And they've flirted with they be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they finally, the time has come and they're ready. Right, I know this is what's scary. Kansas City is one of the few teams that can find little ways to find completions against Houston and their defense, but I think it's a different defense this year. They're functioning at a higher level than we've ever seen before, and they mix it up a little bit more. It's not just Seattle coverage all the time. You know, they will bring some creative blitzes. They can play man-to-man, right, because of their great corners and secondary. They can blitz and play zone behind it too, so they can do all of that. And then I think on top of that, where the Chiefs' defense is good, but as we saw, it's not special like it's been in the years past. The Chiefs' offense is inconsistent. I mean, look at last week, really. Look at last week. They really had 2 drives the whole football game. That's what they did. It was 2 drives. Mahomes talked about it after. We can't have these lulls where we don't move the ball for a quarter or a quarter and a half. They got a short field to start the game. They scored a touchdown. They had 1 good drive in the second quarter, another one in the third, and then they got one, oh, wait, we're down by 10, and the other team kind of played conservative, and they went down and moved the ball that way, right? So I just don't trust Kansas City on that side of the ball, and I don't think their defense is shut down defense. And I think with C.J. Stroud and where these receivers are coming, and we're starting to see them bubble up week in and week out here and being consistent, I'm going to go Texans 24-20 on the road.
I've got the Texans 17-14. And, you mentioned what the Chiefs did or didn't do against the Cowboys. There was that moment, and it was funny, when they were down 10 late, I was talking to my son about the old jet chip wasp play, how that turned around Super Bowl 54. And then, boom, they had a long gain. Right. Guy wide open. It's like, oh, no. But you know what? Past Chiefs teams take that play as the spark to steal the game.
Right.
And whatever it is, it may be one thing, it may be 1,000 things, but whatever it is, they don't do what they used to do. And at some point, we just have to assume that it's not gone forever, but that magic is currently not around.
Right. This
and
is what
we
they
have
are.
to believe what our eyes are seeing. And it's just like with the Steelers. You got to forget the red helmet. You got to forget the arrowhead on the side. You got to forget Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes and just say, wait a minute. The Texans are good enough to go in there and win. And I thought maybe the Texans will get a little wobbly, they'll get a little nervous, but when it's driven by defense, not offense, I think the chances of that happening are diminished.
Right.
You don't have to go out and execute your offense and not make mistakes. Just turn the defense loose. Just go do your thing and we'll be fine. And I think they'll win the game 17-14.
And no, we have a left tackle, right? The Josh Simmons is out for the Chiefs and going to be out for the next 4 games with a wrist injury. And that's just scary. That's scary against this group, as we know that I would say is the best duo pass rushing group in the NFL with these two right now.
All right, Monday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles travel to SoFi Stadium to take on the Chargers. The big injury question, Justin Herbert, who had a procedure on his non-throwing hand. All indications are he's going to do everything in his power to play. I'm going to assume he will play. The Eagles are favored by 3 with an over-under of 40.5. If the sports books were assuming that Herbert wouldn't play, it would not be 3, it would be 13 because I'm sorry, but without Herbert, they are screwed.
Right.
Do you think the Chargers can get the victory with a banged-up Herbert against an Eagles team that has got to be feeling a little salty, a little desperate, a little extra time to get ready from Friday to the following Monday?
Interesting football game. Really is. Really is. I think what I worry about just a little is, as we know, Justin Herbert's been under pressure about as much as any quarterback in football, right? If not the most, I think. So I do worry about them getting steamrolled a little bit by the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I guess there's a part of me on the other side that worries about Philadelphia's O-line being able to push the Chargers around. But really, I mean, in all, I got to stop thinking that, right? It's a little bit like you just talked about with the last game. We got to break out of these molds. They haven't pushed anybody around in any game the whole year except the Giants in the second meeting they played there. And it hasn't really happened. So I got to stop putting eggs in that basket of going, oh, well, they might be able to run the ball. It's like, no, it's week 14. And 13 out of the 14 weeks, they can't run the ball. So I'm done like playing that game. And I think they're so simple, too, that we're seeing teams are going, wait, we could play run defense and still cover this simple-ass offense, and then even if he's open, Jalen Hurts ain't going to throw the ball or do any of that anyways. And you know when you have to throw the ball, and what you've heard me say a million times with the Chargers, when you have to throw the ball against the Chargers, you're f***ed. I'm sorry. The Chargers' pass defense is awesome. So as long as they can protect Herbert just a little, I think the Chargers will have the right approach in the game on both sides of the ball. I'm going to go Chargers 21-17.
The Chargers are so difficult to predict this year because they have had some blowout wins, like what they did to the Vikings. Who else did they blow out? They blew somebody else out, and I can't think of who it was. But then they got manhandled. They got manhandled by the Commanders.
Right.
And they got embarrassed by the Jaguars. And then last week, it looked like it was going to be close against the Raiders, and they systematically pulled away. I struggled with this one. I'm tempted to put my hand back on the checker, but I'm going to stick with my original pasta and meatballs reaction. Eagles 21-20. Some way, somehow, make it happen, get the win by a point. That means the Chargers cover, but the Eagles, just especially if the Cowboys win tonight, the Eagles are looking at having a half-game lead in the division.
Yeah.
If they don't win this game. And if they win this game, it's smooth sailing. They got 3 out of 4 winnable games. But, I said this the other day. I mean, can they beat anyone at this point? I'd like to think if they're ever going to turn it around, it's now. And if they don't turn it around now, maybe they will lose the division to the Dallas Cowboys. But I think they'll find a way to win the game. And the Chargers will, God, the more I talk about it, the more I think the Chargers are going to win. I got to respect the checker.
What'd you say?
Eagles 21-20, but man, I don't feel good about it.
Gotcha. All right, yeah,
21-20 is
what
I said.
It's a dicey
21-20.
For sure. I hear you all the way, man. That's a tough one.
All right, we got to take a break. When we return, we will have figured out our best bets and our Folsom Prison Blues pick for Week 14. I have no idea what my best bets are going to be. I better get to work. Chris Sims, Unbuttoned, PFTPM, Joint Mega Picks Podcast. Best bets time. We each pick 3. Chris, go.
All right, the first one is the Houston Texans. I'm going there, right? I mean, I think the Texans are going to win the football game. I think that certainly, and we know that the Chiefs are favored, and I forgot what they're favored by, 3.5, right?
3.5.
So if they lose, I don't think they're going to lose by more than that.
I got the Seahawks giving 7 to the Falcons. I think it will be a shredding.
I'm going there too. I'm going the Hawks as well. You heard me during the commercial break. I was like, I want to pick the Hawks, so I'm going to go there as well. I'll join you in the Seahawks.
Dolphins giving 2.5 to the New York Jets.
Wow, that's big by you. Okay, I don't trust that one. I'm going to go with the Bears, excuse me. The Bears are 6.5-point dogs. I think they can win the football game. They're not going to lose by 6.5 points. I like that, so I'm going there. Thought about the Ravens. I just didn't trust them yet right now.
I thought about the Texans, but I want to keep it interesting. I want to have a different pick than yours. I will go Buccaneers giving 8.5 to the Saints. I think it's time for the Buccaneers to kind of establish and prove that they're ready to make a run, not just to win the division, but against the best of the NFC. All right, Folsom Prison Blues.
Well, I'm going Broncos over Raiders.
Yep. Broncos over Raiders. Same. That's it. Enjoy the games.
All right.
Wager responsibly.
I hope you screwed the whole week up. See you next time. Yo. Thanks for watching, homies. We are now in the NFL season here on Chris Sims Unbuttoned.
Hit subscribe to get our weekly picks, game recaps, film deep dives, and much, much more.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe, rate, review. Peace out. You know where to find us.